Flecky, it's Friday, it's Flecky Bennett Friday, it's Flecky, it's Friday, it's Flecky's Fright Night.
Hello my friends, it's me, Flecky Bennett here again. So it's good to be back. Seems to be a long time since the last Friday Fright Night, which was February the 14th, Valentine's night. I seem to recall that for some reason, I'm not quite sure why. But we have been working behind the scenes. I've done a few Zoom Stockport ones, we've got some more Zoom ones coming up. We've got 3 new performances this month. This is the first one, tonight in Transylvania. And then we've got a Eventbrite, what's the word I'm looking for? A Zoom performance of the Saturday night Manchester Ghost Walk. And then after that, we're doing a Liverpool virtual ghost bus in a few weeks' time. So hope you can join us. But again, if you can help us out financially, if you enjoyed this tonight, can you please tip us? And every amount, whether it's small or large, is really gratefully received, because as yet, still not allowed to go back to work. It's been well over a year now. I'm hoping that June the 21st will be the time when we can start thinking about getting back out there. But until that date comes and the government tells us what's happening, who knows? So, my friends, please enjoy, give generously. Ooh!
Bine ați venit în Transylvania!
Hello my friends, how are you tonight? Flecky Bennett here, Ghost Walker Extraordinaire. I'm back. Seems like years, doesn't it, Buggerlugs, since we were last on?
Certainly does.
February the 14th, it's etched in my mind for some reason, I can't remember why. Can you, Buggerlugs?
No.
No, not really. No, but if you wonder what the hell we're talking about, have a look on YouTube at the Venice one that we did. Yes. Making an honest woman of her. So how are you doing, everybody? Great to see you out there. Now listen, we're flying over Transylvania. We've just landed in Transylvania, right? And we're trying to broadcast this tonight in HD, so it should be better quality. But last time we tried this, when we was flying in Salem, it went off. So if it goes off tonight, don't leave us. We'll get back to you almost like within seconds. We'll go back on a lower broadcast, but let's try it in HD. So here we are in Transylvania. Buggerlugs has been learning the lingo. Oh, yes. So, we're now in a place called... Now, I've had to put all these different words, phonetics, so I can understand them. So, this place is called Sigishara. Sigishara, where we've landed. And it's very famous because it's the birthplace of the son of the devil. Ooh. Ooh, I should Coco. Tonight it's all about the weird, wonderful and ghostly stories about Transylvania, known as Romania these days, Transylvania. So, let's go down the road to the house of the devil. Hold on tight. So my friends, we find ourselves now outside the most famous house in Transylvania. Why? Why, you ask yourselves? Why do I ask it? Well, it's where a gentleman called Vlad Tepes. Now that's the way you pronounce his name, you know. It looks like it's spelled Tepes, but it's pronounced in Transylvanian and Romanian Tepes. So Vlad Tepes was born in this house. Let's have a look outside your window. And that's the, oh, it's a terrible night again. It's pissing it down there. It's pissing it down here. What a night. So you can see outside the window, that yellow house is where Vlad Tepes was born. And Vlad Tepes is the influence, well, you know, the real Dracula we'll be talking about tonight. So this is the birthplace of the real Dracula. Let's have a look at that plaque outside. Got a plaque on the wall there, a bit like our blue plaques. I can't quite read it from here, but can you read that out for us?
No. In Aquesta Casa a Locuit Intra.
Oh, don't bother with that bit. We know it's his house. When does it say he was born there? What year?
Oh, right. 1431 to 1435.
Yes, so they're a bit, they don't know, within 5 years, they don't exactly know the exact date of his birth because records are a little bit dodgy in them days. But that's where he was born, in an upstairs room. So now it's a fantastic restaurant and a bar. And the restaurant serves all kind of Dracula-themed food, lots of blood red things like glasses of red wine. Cheers, everybody. I never drink wine. Have you got a nice tipple, everybody? We're not visiting any pubs tonight, so drink at will you? So yes, this restaurant serves all kind of food that looks very vampire-ish. And upstairs is the room where Vlad was born. And there's even a coffin you can sit inside. So, let's go inside that little restaurant now. Have a good look around. Here you go. Ooh. Doesn't it look wonderful inside there, eh? Oh, God. I wish I could take you in tonight, but we've got to stay on the bus. And I can hear you, Adam Slim, behind me. I can hear you saying you're giving up EastEnders for that. Well, you can watch the omnibus, can't you? Bloody hell. Get a grip, son. I might see you tomorrow night, yeah. So, yes, that is where Vlad, and you can get inside his coffin. He's a bit of a strange bloke that runs the place, doesn't he? That's him inside the coffin, apparently. But that's the wonderful, and it's one of the most visited places in Transylvania. So, it's only a very little town, is Zigishara, very small little town. But we're going to go for a drive along the street here, and it's got, well, the most unusual undercover staircase in the world. So, let's have a look at it. Woo. So, hey, we're outside. It's the world's largest undercover staircase, if you will. Oh, yes, we're not messing around tonight. And it was built in 1642, so it's well old. Let's have a look outside your window, everybody. And as you can see it, there it is. It is quite beautiful, isn't it? Very Gothic. And it's called the Scholar's Staircase because it was built, basically there's a school and a church on top of a little bit of a hillside. And it was built so that the scholars, the children, could go to school and back every day without getting wet and without needing coats and things. And also people that went to church will carry on back up there as well. So it's a beautiful, beautiful structure. It's got 200 steps, just short of 200 because they've changed some of them into platforms because we're not as fit these days, so they have to have little rests. But what it reminded me of straight away when I saw it was this. And you'll all have seen the film, and we've probably seen a few horror films of this in. Sleepy Hollow. Do you remember there was like a wooden shed where the Headless Horseman was catching people and chopping it? Oh, sorry for spoilers if you haven't seen it, but it's quite an old film now. And it's used in quite a lot of films. You'll probably pops up now and again, doesn't it, Buggerlugs?
It does.
And that's what it reminds me of. Just have to have a look outside your window one more time, It's very much like that structure, isn't it? It's a beautiful Gothic. Anyway, 200 steps, and we're not going to have to walk up it, so that's good news, isn't it, for everybody? Although, you know, we need to get our steps in. We're not going to walk up it tonight. Buggerlugs is going to attempt to drive the bus up it. It's going to be quite bumpy. And we're going to use it as a launch pad off to the scariest forest in the world. So, my friends, over to Buggerlugs.
Hold tight, everybody. This will be extremely bumpy.
beautifully driven, beautifully flown there, Buggerlugs. Oh, you're getting the hang of this now. It's like how we got bat wings tonight on the bus, rather than, what were they before? They were Valkyrie wings, but we got bat wings just to keep him, with the right kind of story. So yes, we've flown over to the, it's regarded as the most haunted forest in the world. Ooh, I should cocoa. Now, I phonetically wrote this, so I know how to say it. Aljabachu. How's your Bachu?
My Bachu's very
Oh, that's all right then. Aljabachu. So Aljabachu Forest is regarded as the most haunted forest in the world. Oh, yes. So let's have a look outside your window. And, look at the bendy trees. I'll talk to you more about that in a second. But it's a very strange place indeed. And I want you to imagine you're there at night time. And this is what it looks like at night time, apparently, in Aljabachu Forest. Anybody that's brave enough to go in there at night time sees these red demon eyes looking from behind the trees all over the forest. Nobody knows what they are. They reckon there's some strange ghostly creatures live in them woods and they come out at night. However, it's not really going to help you. I know we're there in the daylight today, but you're thinking, oh, we're in there in the daylight, so we're nice and safe, but you're not. Because most of the problems that happen at Aljabachu Forest happen in the daylight. So let me just tell you why. Oh yes. It's known as the Bermuda Triangle of Transylvania. And let's just have a look at the bent trees again. Now you can see them, aren't they very strange? How they're all bent in a certain direction. People go into the woods and they lie on them like an hammock, you can imagine, and it looks really cool. Very comfortable, I should imagine. But why are they like that? Well, it's because a UFO landed there. Oh yes, I shit you not. A UFO. I'm not into Trekkie things usually, but a UFO landed in the middle of that forest. And ever since that day, 1967, I believe, 1967, when it landed there, there's been a massive, great big hole in the centre of the forest. Nothing will grow there. None of the trees will grow because it's something to do with radiation that maybe the spaceship left. Do you believe in UFOs? But I can't believe it. It's unbelievable. So it was 1968 when a man called Emil Barnier took a photograph. And this is the actual photograph that he took that day. And he believes he captured, well, it looks like a flying saucer, doesn't it? What do you think it is, Buggerlugs? It looks like a bin lid. But no, it's been verified by experts, said the photograph hasn't been tampered with. Loads of people checked this photograph over in 1968. And this guy was a top businessman and quite respected, and he swore, and there was 2 witnesses with him. He said, that's the photograph, that's what happened. It landed in the middle of the forest. All his life, he had to try to, people say, oh, come on, tell us the truth now. It's been years since you made this up. He said, and he went to his grave still saying that that's what happened. So he never changed his tune all his life. And since that day, loads of other people have captured weird things. Here's some other photographs of what people have captured in the forest. And there are some weird anomalies, aren't there? And that's why they believe that all the trees are bent, because these spaceships come and go at will. So we're not safe even being here in the daylight, are we? So yes, it's known as the Bermuda Triangle. Now why is that? Well, this forest is named after a gentleman. And this is what the gentleman looked like. He was a farmer. And he went into the forest with 200 sheep, the lucky sod. And he went in the forest. And he never came back out again, and neither did his sheep. And his name was, and I'll go back to it again in phonetically, Aljabachu. That was his name of the actual the farmer. He was a sheep farmer. And he went in there and he was never seen again. And ever since that day, loads and loads of people have gone into this forest and they've never come back out again. And that's why they call it the Bermuda Triangle of Transylvania. They never come back out. They reckon there's a portal to another dimension in the middle of the forest. That's where people have gone into another realm. And the most famous story regarding this portal is what happened one day. This young couple with their child, showing here, a young couple with their child went into the forest. and they went to a picnic, and the little girl was running around. It was a lovely summer's day, and they were playing hide and seek like you do, and then she just disappeared, and they were frantic, oh, I like the graphics, frantic, searching behind all them trees, looking for everywhere, calling out to her little girl, because there's no record of her name actually. Little girl, where are you? Daughter, where are you? Little girl, come back to us, where are you, little girl? There was nothing, no sound from her whatsoever. They were getting more distraught. They thought she's just pretending. Anyway, it got to nightfall, excuse me, and they had to admit that they weren't going to find her that night, and they were really worried then. They thought she's either fallen down a hole or been taken by somebody. And the first light of the next day, all the villagers came and the police got involved, and they went looking for the little girl, shouting, where are you? Nothing came back at them. They searched every day for months and months and months, and they just had to say that she's either been taken or she's fallen down something, she's died. And there's all these rumours about the forest being a Bermuda Triangle, so people just accepted it. So her mum and dad tried to get on with their lives. 5 years they got on with their lives, and then all of a sudden this happened. She came walking back out of the forest. Not a day older. She was still 5 years of age, and 5 years had passed. Still wearing the same dress, still fitter. And this little girl just thought that it had been mere seconds since she'd gone missing. When she was introduced to her mum and dad, she said, why didn't you come and get me? I was only hiding round the corner there. She didn't know where she'd been, and her family didn't know, but they were 5 years older, and the little girl was still 5 years of age. Woo! It's a good story, that, isn't it? And that's what happened in this forest. So yes, and people often say that if you go into the forest, say that you're on the outside, you check your watch, and it's 1 p.m. You go into the forest, and you go in for an hour, and then you come back out again, and your watch has moved forward 2 hours. They reckon an hour inside the forest is worth 2 of our hours outside the forest. So isn't that really strange? What a place to go. So I think we better leave here, because we don't want to be here all night, do we? We don't know if watch is affected. So we're now going to fly to where Vlad. So we've been to where Vlad Sepesh was born, and now we're going to go to the main place where he ruled the country from. So Buggerlugs, let's take flight. Woo! So we're not going to land, but you can see we're looking at a building below us, and that is Hotel Dracula. One of the very few sort of Dracula themed things in Transylvania, if you will. And by the way, I can hear some of your comments on the back of the bus. The farmer was fleeced. I like it, brother. And what was the other one? Somebody sneezing. Sounds like they named the farmer. Sounds like a sneeze. You're quite right, Sammy. So yes, we're not going to go down to it, but I'm going to show you the inside of Hotel Dracula. So let's have a look what it looks like inside. Ooh. I can hear you, Tara, from behind me. You stayed in that hotel once? Wow. I mean, it does look a little bit dated. It looks a bit like a Britannia hotel. Have you been in the one in Scarborough? But it looks a bit dated, but I think it's quite cool, especially the basement. Did you go in the coffin, Tara? See if you can hear her. Tara, did you go in the coffin? In the basement? I bet she bloody did, knowing her. And she's got a Flecky Bennett t-shirt as well, and mug, I think. So, yes, isn't it wonderful? Hotel Dracula. Now, the tourism in Transylvania, they haven't really cashed in as much as they could do on Dracula's legend. They tried to. In 2001, they were going to build this place. A thing called Dracula Land. Can you imagine how cool that would have been? It was all going to be like Dracula themed roller coasters, and it was going to be just outside Dracula's birthplace of Zigazara, and it was going to be cable cars taking you from the little village outside his birthplace into the hills, and roller coasters and all sorts like that. But guess who put a stop to it in 2003? Have a guess? Have a guess. Prince Charles. Our Prince Charles put a stop to it. It was about to start building it, and he objected so much that they put an end to it. I don't know why he's got so much power in Transylvania, but Prince Charles said it would ruin the natural landscape and it should never happen. So they haven't really cashed in as much as they could. I'll tell you what they should do though. There's one place in this country which had a go at it and it's still there. Maybe it would have looked a bit like this. So have a look at this. Ooh. So, yeah, it might have looked something like that, mightn't it? That's Chessington World of Adventure. I've never been there. Maybe some of you lot have. That ride, that Dracula, the Bat Ride or whatever it's called, it's about 20 or 30 years old. I think, 30 years old. It had its anniversary. So, it could have looked like that very much so. Thank you, Tara, for telling us about that you had dinner in the basement of that hotel. Sounds wonderful. Nothing against Britannia hotels. We go in the one in Scarborough. I know it's 99 pence a pint, but we stay in the Travel Lodge opposite. And we just go in the bar of the hotel. Do you know what I mean? So, yes! Hey! So that's what a Dracula roller coaster might look like. Maybe Prince Charles was a vampire, still is a vampire. Have you seen his fingers? Very strange fingers. Have you ever seen Prince Charles' fingers?
No, I've never been in there.
Ladies and gentlemen, try to find a photograph of Prince Charles' fingers. Not now. Not now. Wait till after this. But find a photograph of his fingers.
Weirdo.
Oh, well, you know that Dracula has long, strange fingers. Well, Prince Charles is. Oh, you want to see him? Anyway, but the most famous. Well, we're still flying, by the way. We're still flying. We're not stopping. Yes, the most famous place for tourism in Transylvania is this place, Bran Castle. Beautiful, beautiful castle, as you can see, and that's where everybody seems to head for when they go to Transylvania. The thing is, it has no connection whatsoever with our friend Vlad Tepes. They don't even believe he ever visited. The only connection it's got is Bram Stoker. He saw a picture of it, that's all, a picture, and decided that's what he based as Dracula's home. Bram Stoker never ever visited Transylvania. And if you've seen the Whitby one that I did, the Whitby Facebook Live, it's on YouTube. You'll know that he wrote most of it, got the ideas from when he was in a library in Whitby. But he never ever visited Transylvania, so neither did Vlad Tepes. So Bram Castle is a bit of a, Talking about Dracula, let's have a look at some of the most famous Draculas. Oh, I love a Dracula myself. Do you love a Dracula, Emma?
Certainly do.
Now, we've all got our favourites. I think they're the 4 choices. There's other ones, but they're the 4 main ones. So you've got, let's have a look. So who have we got? We've got Bela Lugosi. No, we haven't. Yeah. Bela Lugosi, am I right? Yeah. It is Bela Lugosi, isn't it? Are you not talking? Speak. What? You don't know?
Yeah.
Is it Bela Lugosi?
I said yeah.
You never said yeah. Just looking at me. Bela Lugosi, Christopher Lee. What are you looking at me like that for?
Nothing.
Just join in. Christopher Lee. Now, he was my Dracula. I suppose it dates how old you are, which is your Dracula. Christopher Lee was my Dracula. I love them Hammer horror films on Friday nights, and a lot of you out there loved them too. And also, I suppose Gary Oldman's my Dracula as well, because it's quite old, that film now, isn't it? And he did a superb performance. And then right up to date, just last year or the year before, that's Bang. What's his surname?
Klaus.
Bang Klaus. And that was the one written by Mark Gatiss. I liked it, but a lot of people dissed it because it was set in modern times, sort of the end of it. But the first couple of episodes, brilliant. So he did a really good job, did Bang. So yes, that's the Draculas. And Bram Stoker never actually went to Transylvania ever in his life. So talking about Dracula's castle, Bram's castle Bran, we're now going to land very shortly. We've been flying towards Vlad's actual castle. So, are we nearly landing, Buggerlugs? Let's have a look out the window. I'll tell you something, Buggerlugs likes driving down steps, doesn't she? Oh, the suspension. It's a good job we've got good suspension on this bloody bus.
Keeps you all awake.
Keeps us all awake, it certainly does. So, we've gone down some steps. We're in the undercroft of his castle. The castle's pretty much in ruins, but this down here, the undercroft, is how it would have been back in the day. And we're now in a town called, let me just pronounce it phonetically, Thankyou Vista. Thankyou Vista. And that's where Vlad Tepes ruled from, and this was his actual castle. And yes, so Vlad the Impaler. Let's talk about Vlad Tepes first of all. I've no idea what the next thing is that I'm showing, Buggerlugs. Can you remind me? Oh yes, this is what he actually looked like. This is a computerized. You know, when they put all the evidence they've got together and they make somebody's face, the scientists and people, and well, that's what he's supposed to have looked like. Vlad Tepes. I think he had a bit of a look of me. Look.
Here we go.
Come back to me, let's have a look. Yeah, it looks a bit like me. That's Vlad Tepes. I know what she's trying to do now. She's trying to do a double screen, aren't you? No, you're not going to try to do that. No, she's not. She hasn't got the... Oh, here we go.
Who's not got the ability?
Oh, I think there's a look. I think we have a look of each other. Two good-looking fellas there. But one is an absolute lunatic.
Yeah, you. This one here.
Which one's the lunatic? Oh, yeah. One was described as a demented psychopath. You can make your choices up at home, ladies and gentlemen. So...
And this one was a ghost walker extraordinaire.
I'll do the funnies. Oh, by the way, Carl, you can buy us both a drink, definitely. Anyway, yes, throughout his time, Vlad ruled mostly from this castle and over these people. And he was off and on his throne all the time. People kept challenging off and on his throne, just like Buggerlugs in the middle of the night. She's off and on her throne all the bloody time.
Excuse me.
She sometimes spends up to an hour in that toilet. I don't know what she's doing, making a bloody will, I think. I know what she's up to. She's playing bloody Candy Crush. That's what she calls it, Candy Crush. Well, I suppose it has to come out somewhere. She's off and on the throne. He was off and on his throne all the bloody time. People kept challenging him over and over again. He was off his throne, on his throne. And anyway, he got this reputation of being absolute maniac. So that helped him to stay on his throne, you know, because people say, don't approach Vlad Tepes, he's mental. So, let me tell you why he was regarded as a demented psychopath, okay? So, first of all, when he was firstly in charge of his land, he was loved by his people, and he put out this thing saying that any of his poor people that lived in his town and his part of the country which he ruled, if you were poor, come along, he was going to throw a big party for you. Oh yes, he had a specially wooden hut, massive, great big hut, so more like a hall but made from wood. And they had it built specially for a big party for all the people, the poor children, women and fellas from his neighbourhood. So, he got them all inside this big wooden hut, and it was like all you can eat and drink. Oh yes, he put on a special offer, drink as much as you want, eat as much as you want, all on Vlad Tepes. And they had a fantastic party, they were all eating and drinking. That's a cue for a drink. Cheers everybody. Much wine was consumed, much food, like them big legs of chicken. The chicken legs, you know what I mean? Really feasting themselves they were. They had full bellies for probably the first time in their lives, these peasants. And they stood at the front of the hall and he said, and I'll have to quote you these words. They said, thank you so much, Vlad, you really are the best leader we've ever had. And he said, would you like me to take away your sorrow in this world and that you want for nothing ever again? And they were going, oh, what a leader. They thought he was going to give them a few bob each. They went, yes, please, take away our sorrow and that we'll want for nothing never again. He said, yes, no problem. So what he did, it's not funny, I don't know what I'm laughing about it, it's absolutely horrible. Stop making me laugh. He walked out, got all his men to nail up all the doors and set fire to it. This is what it would have looked like. I'll tell you, some of these graphics are amazing. I spend all my life making graphics these days. But yes, that's what he did. He set fire to them to end their suffering. He really did think he was doing them a favour. And he said these words as it was burning behind him. He went, I have freed them. Oh yes, thank you very much everybody. I've done my bit. He enjoyed fire, did our Vlad. He really did. He loved setting people alight. He loved cooking people and making the relatives eat them. He often cooked babies and made the mothers eat them, so he was a nice bloke. One of my favourite things that he liked to do, well, not favourite things, but one of the most interesting things, should I say, he liked to peel the skin off his prisoners' feet while they're alive, like cut it off and peel all the skin off. And then it'd all be bleeding and all sore, and he'd get salt. And he'd rub salt into the wound. That's where we get them sayings from. He'd rub salt into the wound, so that would be absolutely bloody agony. And then to make it worse, he'd strap them down and bring his goats in, and the goats would lick the feet of these people that had got no skin and salt on the wounds. And then he'd let them go. You wouldn't be able to walk very well, would you? But So I'm not goating about, that's what he actually did. So he peeled the skin off people's feet. But he got obsessed with fire. And one of the things he liked to do, he had commissioned a massive, great big brass pot, apparently. Huge, it was. Big enough to fit a person in. And a wooden lid that tied down, and a hole in the top of the wooden lid where the person could stick the noggin out. And he'd have you trapped inside this, fill it with water, put it over fire, and then set fire to it. And this is what it probably looked like. I'm very proud of that graphic. I think it's wonderful. And he'd boil you till your eyes popped out, apparently. So he was quite a sinister guy, as you can see. But you know, Vlad Tepes got this name, and you all know him probably by that name as Vlad the Impaler. Oh yes. What a horrible, horrible thing to do to people. You may think burning them alive, eating people, putting them and boiling alive is bad, but impaling has got to be the worst of the lot because it can take days to die. So, I hope you've had your tea, because I'm going to probably make you sick now. I'm going to show you, and I'm going to talk over this. I've made a little video here for you. It's an educational video, and I'm going to give you a dialogue over the top of it, so leave the microphone on, and I'm going to tell you how you impale somebody. So, let's go. So, as you're looking at, first of all, you would select a nice tree, and then cut off one of its branches. You don't want a branch that's too thick or too thin. You want it just about medium size, and then you cut it to a point, but a very blunt point. You don't want it to be very sharp. No, you want it to be very blunt. Okay, and you want it blunt for a reason. I'll tell you why that is in a second. So you've got your nice piece of wood, just the right length and size and circumference, and then you would cut it. Then you would get some nice lard, animal fat of some description. Don't think they had, what's that stuff they use these days? That one in that jar. Vaseline. Well, similar to that. You rub it all over the end of this blunted, pointed piece of wood. A stake or a spike. Give it a right good rub there. It's almost pornographic, this. Give it a right good rub. And then you pull the trousers down of the person you want to bloody impale. So you pull the trolleys down, and then you can guess where you stick it. You stick it right up the bum hole, right up the arse, and as long as it just gets in like a couple of inches, and then you lift the person up on the pole, and their own natural body weight causes them to slide down. The first thing that slides down is them and their guts. Whatever in the bowels starts to escape because their arse is just ripped apart, and then this blunt pole starts going through the body slowly. You don't want it sharp because that will pierce the organs and probably kill them straight away. Because it's blunt, it pushes the organs out of the way as it slowly makes its way through the body. So it pushes your stomach away, and then the lungs will move to one side, it pushes the heart to one side, and it slowly makes its way. It can take a couple of days to make its way up through the body. And then eventually it has to pop out of somewhere. And it usually pops out at the back of the neck. And when this guy suddenly dies, you can see it on the left hand side there, or your right hand side, it starts to come out through the back of the neck. Some people had it coming out through the top of their head, but most of the time it came out through the back of the neck. What a way to die. You can come back to me, Buggerlugs. So I don't know if you knew about impaling, but that is impaling for you. Now, it's a horrible thing, but here's something that we found out that was quite interesting. That, you know, when you went to Vlad's birthplace, when he was a young boy, him and his brother were given away, and they were held hostages. And it is known that both both brothers, were both sexually abused by the Turkish army. And to get the revenge, so they were sodomized by the Turkish army, these two young boys. And Vlad apparently used to capture rats and get a sharp piece of wood and stick it up impale the rats as a young boy. And obviously, sticking that pole up somebody's rear end, he was getting his revenge for the abuse he got as a child. It's not a very nice subject, but that's why they believe that he did what he did, and that's why he specialised in impaling people. So that is Vlad the Impaler and what he used to do. And that is a picture, one of the most famous pictures, illustrations. So it was really, really hated all over the world and feared by everyone. However, there was the Sultan of Romania and Transylvania, and he wanted Vlad's throne, and he put together a massive army, 150,000 men strong. Vlad only had thousands of men. He knew there was no way that he could defeat this army that was coming to get him, and they were marching here to this castle where we are now. So he decided to do the most bloodthirsty act of his reign, and he created this thing called the Forest of the Impaled. The Forest of the Impaled. So what does that mean? Well, he decided that there was no way he could take on this massive army. So he took his own people, men, women and children. He took thousands of them. Nearly all the people in this town were taken into the woods just at the bottom of the castle. And they're all impaled, just like I've shown you how they impaled them. Terrible. He didn't really like impaling children. But he said, once they've impaled their mum and dad, it's difficult to find what to do with them after that. So he said it's better to impale them too. So then he left the castle just before the Sultan and his army arrived. The Sultan arrived and he had this to witness. Thousands of men, women and children all lined up in this forest, all still alive, most of them, because it can take 2 days to die, all on top of these spikes, all shaking away. And the army was absolutely gobsmacked, and so was the Sultan. And he said these words to his men. He said, listen, if Vlad Tepes will do this to his own men, women and children, which he rules over, imagine what he will do to us. And they left at that point. Well, for a while, never to return. But they did return eventually. But it got rid of him. And that was his most bloodthirsty act, was the Forest of the Impaled. It was so bloodthirsty, Vlad, that he used to sit there amongst the people being impaled, and it gave him a ferocious appetite, he said. Yes, he'd sit there, and that's where he got this, the rumours and the legend that he used to drink their fresh blood, and that he used to dip his bread in the blood to soften it, and he'd sit amongst the impaled, enjoying a right slap-up feast. That is one sick puppy, isn't it? So I think we better leave here before we get something rammed up our arses, and let's fly to another forest. Here we go, Buggerlugs. Let's set flight. Here we go. So my friends, we've now flown to another forest. There's lots of forests, as you can imagine, in Transylvania. And as you look out your window, you're looking at a pond. And this is known as the Witch's Pond. It's only 5 metres wide, but they say it has no bottom. Oh yes, there is no bottom. And apparently, it never changes its depth. If there's a drought in the summer or it's incredibly wet in the winter, it never changes its depth. Animals will not drink from it. They've never found any life inside it. But it's really popular with Romanian witches. And that's why it's called the Witches' Pond. Let's have a look at a Romanian witch. Now, they're a lot better looking than our witches in Europe. You know what they look like, don't you? Big noses and warts all over the place. Well, that is a Romanian witch. Oh, yes. And they gather there quite often, especially in the month of June. So next month is when they really all gather at the Witches' Pond. And the reason why they gather there is they believe that if you make a spell and you make it by the side of the Witches' Pond, it's more likely to come true. So they really swear by its, not healing properties, quite the opposite. It's sinister properties. The locals detest it. They really do think it's cursed. The local women that wanted to get rid of their children, unborn children, unwanted pregnancies, used to bathe themselves in the water. And they used to say that it used to get rid of the child. So the locals detested this pond. They really did. And they tried to fill it in. And they said, everybody bring as much as you can bring. Anything that you want to get rid of, any old scrap metal, any wood, any furniture, anything, just throw it in there. Let's try to fill it in. And they threw everything inside, rubble and everything, and it never even changed it. It's still the same level. So they do believe it's got no bottom. So that's a bit strange. Also, they say that it has its own weather system over the Witches' Pond. This is what it might look like. Thunder and lightning over the Witches' Pond. And they say it just happens over that area. So it's a really, really strange place, isn't it, everybody? So yeah, this is the Witches' Pond. Now we're going to do something we've never done before tonight. Oh yes. We're going to see ourselves if it's got a bottom. Oh yeah. Now listen, we've flown through the air, haven't we? We've driven along the streets. We've sailed on water before, but we've never gone underwater. Now Buggerlugs has been busy this last month converting the ghost bus. And let's have a look what it looks like now. She's converted it with a periscope, as you can see, and a propeller at the back. So we're going to go for a little bloody, we're going to go down. We could do anything we like, can't we? We're going to go into the Witches' Pond and we're going to see what is down there. So let's start easing our way into it. So if you look out your windows, everybody, oh, it's starting to get deeper. Starting to get deeper. Over to Buggerlugs.
Okay, let's get this maiden voyage of the Flecky submarine on its way. Fingers crossed it doesn't leak.
In the town where I was born lived a man who sailed to sea, and he told us of his life in the land of submarine. And we sailed up to the sun till we found the sea of green, and we lived the life of ease in a yellow submarine. We all live in a yellow submarine. Yellow submarine. Yellow submarine. We all live in a yellow submarine. Yellow submarine. Yellow submarine. And our friends are all aboard. Many more of them live next door. And the band begins to play. in a yellow submarine. Yellow submarine. Yellow.
That's right, Cole Hodgson. Sing along now, we can hear in the back of the bus. We all live in the Flecky submarine. Come on,
what?
Flecky submarine. Come on,
what?
Flecky submarine. We all live in the Flecky submarine.
A who?
A Flecky submarine.
A what?
A Flecky submarine. Oh, wasn't it fantastic? Who expected to see Jason down there? Oh, there's been some. So it has got a bottom. We saw the bottom, didn't we? Woo! Terrifying. So, my friends, there's another reason why this area, this forest tonight where we are, is often visited by people, because they believe this is where Vlad Sepesh, oh excuse me,
Who?
that wine's very gassy. They believe that Vlad the Impaler met his end in this forest. One battle too many, he was murdered here, and they chopped his noggin off, and his noggin was taken to the Sultan. And yeah, there's his noggin. I made that. Brilliant graphic. They took that head to the Sultan because he wanted proof that Vlad Sepesh, or Vlad the Impaler, was actually dead. So we're now going to go to our final destination, and it was also the final destination for his headless body. We're going to go to Vlad Sepesh's grave. So let's take flight for the last time. Here we go. Woo! So we've landed on a little island in the middle of nowhere, and this is where Vlad Sepesh instructed that he wanted to be buried, inside this monastery which we're outside of. Let's have a look at the monastery door, Buggerlugs. And there you go, you can look out your window, and yes, he was buried here in 1476, and he chose this site himself because you can't really get here that easily. You used to have to cross by boat. There's now a bridge, but we flew in tonight. And yes, so in 1476 he was buried. Well, his headless body is buried in there. However, in 1930, they decided to dig up the grave, and they found just a mass of animal bones. However, since that day, they said the experts believe that's just a decoy, that his body is further down in the grave. It was a thing they did quite often, bury like wrong bodies above people that are important, so maybe they'd steal the wrong body. So they believe his actual body is in the grave below it. It's run by monks, but these monks are quite sinister apparently. They protect Vlad Sepesh's tomb. They won't allow people to go in there very often. They won't allow people to video. They won't allow photographs really. They're very protective, like they've got something to hide. So that is where he's buried. And tonight, let's have a look at his gravestone. This is what it looks like inside. You're going to go in there in a minute. That's his grave, and as I say, they dug down and just animal bones. So my friends, in a minute you're going to get off the bus, because Buggerlugs wants to do my job tonight. She wants to take you for a little walk inside the monastery. I'm going to stay here with your bags, your coats and your drinks. If you've enjoyed it tonight, please give generously to the tip jar. Very much appreciated, everybody. But I'll see you when you get back on the bus. But I want you now to follow Buggerlugs into the monastery.
Don't worry about stepping on his grave or standing on it. I just need you over this way. Did you all stand on it? Unlucky.
Turn out the lights.
Hello my friends. I'm sorry to do this to you, but I'm going to have to leave you and Buggerlugs inside this room. You have stepped on and over the grave of Vlad, and he lay a curse on it. Because he was such a sinful man, he said anyone who stands or steps over this grave will take on some of my sins. You are now sinners, and you and Buggerlugs will have to stay in this room for all eternity. Ha